Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Kyle Petty as he embarks on the Kyle Petty charity ride, now in its 29th year. I know obviously the ride's been around longer than that, but I know you guys took a few years off because of the pandemic. But
Yeah.
29th ride, and you're going to be up toward the Midwest, heading into the East Coast this year.
Yes, it's funny. So when we first started, we were just idiots, to tell you the truth, and we just every time somebody said motorcycle ride, we rode from west to east as far as we could go and as fast as we could go. That's what we did for about the first 15 or 20 years. And then one day we woke up and we were a touch older. I'm just going to go ahead and just lay it that way. I'll be gentle about it and say we had aged a touch, just like fine wine. And uh, man, those 500 and 600 mile. God,
Yeah.
we we kind of go. We did a Southwest ride, which was Phoenix, and made a big loop around the Southwest. Um, we did a Utah ride, and we did a loop. And this year we're going from Traverse City, Michigan, back to the homestead in Virginia. Um, and we are we're actually this year we're stopping and seeing things for the first time. We used to just ride by stuff at about 100 miles an hour. Now we're going to stop and see stuff.
Yeah. So what do you got planned? Because I know you're coming from Traverse City up in there, and you guys are, I think, are going down to Detroit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. So here's the thing. So every year we send out a survey to our riders. And for almost 29 years, Niagara Falls has been on our bucket list or been on the list. Everybody wants to go to Niagara Falls. So the Henry Ford Museum is near and dear to my heart. My mom used to take me to the Henry Ford Museum when we raced in Michigan. We went to Traverse City a number of years ago, and man, it's the cherry capital of the United States or the world, maybe. I don't know, man. We had a cherry spitting contest, cherry pit spitting contest. We did all kinds of cool stuff in Traverse City. So we're going from Traverse City down to Detroit. We're going to tour the Henry Ford Museum the following day.
Yep.
We'll be
Been to
there for
one.
4 or 5 hours. So that's really cool. Then we're going around down to Cleveland. We're only riding about 120 or 30 miles down to Cleveland. And the next morning, we're going to get up and we're going to spend about 3 or 4 hours in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So we're excited about that too. And then we're going to leave there and we're going up to Niagara Falls. And when we get to Niagara Falls, we're going to spend an extra day in Niagara Falls. We're just not riding. We're just taking off a whole day so all the riders can go. And then one thing our riders have loved to do through the years, and we've been to California Speedway, Sonoma, man, Daytona, Pocono, New Hampshire, Bristol. They like to make laps around racetracks that they see all their heroes race on. So we're going to Watkins Glen. We're going up to Corning. We're going to Watkins Glen. We're going to make a lap around Watkins Glen, and then we're going to the Corning Museum of Glass, and then going down to Bedford, Pennsylvania the next day, which is there's an Omni hotel there that 14 different presidents have stayed at. It was built in the mid 1800s. It's an incredible place. And then the homestead has like 25 or 26 different presidents have stayed at the homestead. So we're going to the homestead, and that's where we end this year. So we are really pumped about this year's ride because it's a northeastern ride, it's a midwestern ride. It combines both of them a little bit, and we're just excited about it, man. I mean, I think all our riders are excited to see things that we've ridden by for so many years.
Yeah. So you talk about, starting in Traverse City, and then going down to the Henry Ford in Dearborn. I know you've been there. I surprisingly, I live in Michigan and I have not been there. I've known people that are members, but yeah,
You're not from Michigan if you haven't been there. You got to go, man. You got to go.
I know,
It's
I
a
know, I
great.
know,
It is.
I know I
It
have
is the
to.
coolest place. Let me tell you, it is the coolest place when you walk in there, and you think Henry Ford Museum, and you think, it's got to be all automotive, and a ton of it is, man. They've got some of the coolest stuff in the world. But they've got stuff. Sorry, my phone just went off. They've got stuff from. This is the fascinating part. They've got They've got the Lincoln that John F. Kennedy was assassinated
Right.
in, and just around the corner from that, they got the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. So that's pretty cool. They've got the chair that Lincoln was assassinated in.
Yes.
They've got the bus that Rosa Parks rode on. I mean, so much social history along with racing history, which is the part I love the most,
Yeah.
and then airplanes and trains and A little bit of everything. So you got to go, man. It is really cool. You guys are blessed to live in a state that has something like the Henry Ford Museum.
Yeah, it is. We there's Metro Detroit's got of course the International Motorsports Hall of Fame
Oh,
was also here in was in Novi for the longest period of time. Of course, now it's
Nova.
in Daytona.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, talk about you mentioned racing history. I'll say this. I know what was it like seeing I know Adam's colors were on a car beforehand, but what was it like seeing on Daniel's car this past weekend?
Yeah, Daniels was more probably is more probably more special than any car so far, and I say that because I've known Daniel's dad since I was 17 or 18, and Daniel's dad was about the same age, honestly. Um, and through the years, being in Daytona and him being in the land and all that stuff, we just kind of grew up together. I raced, he sold cars and was in the car business, and when Adam came along, we would go to dinner and we hung out together, and um, then Adam's accident happened, and Daniel came along, and then I've watched Daniel run at New Smyrna and work his way up through the Truck Series and the ARCA Series and into the Xfinity Series, and to have him run that, it was just like an extension. It was like your friends doing it, so that was different than other people doing it. So it was really special. Daniel's a great kid, and Randy, his dad, the Dye family they're just good people. And that to see that down at Darlington, that was really special for us this weekend.
Yeah, and I know there's been a lot. I know you were down in Darlington as well for Throwback Weekend. How was it for you guys to see all these different cars on there? I know there's been a lot of talk about do we need Throwback Weekend, all that, blah 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 blah. But overall, what was that like just to be down there and be a part of all that, the alumni weekend and all that fun stuff?
So here's what I say, and I said it. I don't know why these drivers have started running their mouths about um, about throwback weekend and why listen, once you're in a race car, let me tell you this, I can tell you this for a fact. Once you're inside the race car and you're strapped in a seat, you have no idea what your car looks like on the outside. You don't know whether it's blue or purple or black or green. You don't know the colors. So who cares what it's painted like? And I'm going to tell you who cares what it's painted like. The fans care what it's painted like. We
Absolutely.
run the All-Star race and we run the Clash, not for the drivers, for the fans. The All-Star race is for the fans. The Clash at the beginning of the year, it's for the fans. It's to get the fans excited for the year. The throwback race is for the fans. And if we can't do that for the fans, then we shouldn't be in the sport in a lot of ways. It's really cool for the fans, and I think it's really cool for the older generation, for guys like my dad, guys like Ricky Rudd, guys like Bill Elliott, guys that I came along racing. When you start seeing those paint jobs again, and you start seeing those paint schemes again, it brings back memories from running in the 70s and 80s and the 90s for a lot of people. And for a lot of fans, it brings back memories for them. And that's what it's all about. It doesn't change the racing on the racetrack. It doesn't change anything, honestly. It changes the driver's suits they have to wear and it changes their paint schemes. But other than that, that's all it is. So, when drivers and when you start complaining about paint jobs, you got a little bit too much time on your hands. You need to focus on what you're doing, which is driving a race car and not worrying about the aesthetics of the car.
Right. Overall, how do you think the NASCAR season is going as we head to Bristol this weekend?
We're really good. I think it's been really competitive. I go back to, we had the Christopher Bell streak. And when you go back to that streak, really, there was probably one, maybe two of those races he shouldn't have won. He just ended up in the right place at the right time. And then we go to Darlington, and Denny's not the dominant car. He didn't show up in the top, show up and run up front until it counted. So you can say, well, that maybe that's not a race Denny should have won. Maybe that's a race that Blaney or that Byron should have won. And I think that's what's been cool about this year is you don't know who's going to win. You don't know how it's going to play out, and you don't know what the final hand that's dealt and how it's going to be played until you see the checkered flag. That's just the way it is. And I think that's cool for the fans. It's nerve-wracking for a driver because you think you've got control of the race with 5 laps to go and you end up 15th. And that's heartbreaking in a lot of ways. But I think the competition on the racetrack from the time they ran Bowman Gray, I thought those races were pretty good up there at the Clash. And then Daytona was pretty decent. Everywhere we've been, we've had some pretty decent races. There's a couple of races that have been snoozers. Listen, they all can't be winners when you look at it that way. But there's a couple of races that have not been much. But um, as the overall year has gone, and as we look at the competition level and we look at the guys that are running up front, I think it's been a good year so far.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so you talk about we'll go back to the ride here for a second. I mean, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Have you ever been there?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Listen, when I used to race in Michigan and would ride my motorcycle up, I'd go through Cleveland and go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame
Yeah,
the day before and then ride on over. So yeah, I've been through there a million times. And that's the cool part about it. It changes. Every time you go, it's something different. There's a different display, there's a different artist that they're featuring. So our riders are going to love it. Honestly, yeah, they are. They're going to love every bit of that museum and that city. So um, I think that's one of the places that when we sent the survey out, people were like, nobody there was probably about 10 or 15 people that put it on their list. But then when we announced we were going, almost 100% of the people said, "Oh my God, I've always wanted to go there." You know what I mean? Just never thought about going to Cleveland. So it's going to be fun.
yeah. And of course, you got like, and look at all the people, and especially with this class of getting in, like, Chubby Checker's going in this year, and you got the Black Crows, and you got, of course, Outcast and all those guys. So it's a really good class too of getting
Yeah,
in.
and and our deal is, we've got people that ride that are from 20 years old. My dad still rides with us, and he's 87. So let's say 20 to 87 year. So that encompasses a huge swath of American music. So there's a little bit of something there for everybody.
Yeah, Niagara Falls. What's that going to be like to go to up there and see?
Man, so I have to tell you, I've been all over this country. I've raced a little bit of everywhere, but we do a site inspection where we go out every year and ride the route in a car to make sure where the gas stations are and everything. And we did that back in November, and that was the first time I'd ever been to Niagara Falls, and I was blown away.
Yeah,
Could not believe it. How amazing it was. I think all the pictures you see is kind of like the Grand Canyon. You can see a million pictures, but until you go and look out over the edge, it's like, oh my God, that's a big old hole. The canyon is a big old place, and that's kind of like the falls. You see it, but when you go there and you hear it and you experience it, you see the power of the water and everything. And I think that's going to be cool for our crowd. And a bunch of them want to go to Canada. A bunch of them want to say that the Kyle Petty Charity Ride went across the border into Canada. So a bunch of them are gonna ride over. They're taking their passports and taking their stuff. I told them, I said, listen, if you get to Canada and can't get back, don't call me, man. I'm headed south. I'm headed back to God's country, headed back south. So, but it's going to be fun, and
yeah,
I think that's one of the things. We've been to the Badlands, we've been to the Grand Canyon, we've been to Bryce Canyon, we've been to Moab. We've seen so many national parks and so many things and national wonders that this country has. To see Niagara Falls will just add to that.
yeah, for sure. And of course, all the money, of course, is going to raise money for the Victory Junction camp now in its, correct me if I'm wrong, 21st,
Yep.
21st year.
Yeah, 21st year. It's crazy. Last year we ended at camp with the ride because it was their 20th anniversary, and we've seen what 125 or 30,000 kids have been touched by camp, totally free of charge, and in the 20 plus years, that 21 years that the camp's been up and running. We're looking for a big year this year, so it's a really special place, and so many people in racing, so many race fans have contributed and continue to contribute and make it happen. So. We are very, very blessed to just be caretakers of that place.
And for those who may be watching this from the state and want to be a part of the ride, how can they be a part of it?
So if you want to be a part of the ride, go to kylepettycharityride.com and check us out. We're already full this year. I will say that. We filled up this year really fast. Fastest we've ever filled up. We filled up in 72 hours. So, but what we will have is our route and where we'll stop for lunch, where we'll stop for gas. My dad will be with us. Richard Petty, Herschel Walker is going to be with us. Max Pappas is going to be with us. Kenny Schrader, Kenny Wallace. Man, I know I'm missing some people. I need to get my list together this year. Rick Allen from NBC. So many people are going to be with us. So come out, have your picture taken, get a hero card, get it autographed. It's not every day that Richard Petty shows up in Traverse City, and it's not every day that Herschel Walker shows up at the Henry Ford Museum. So if you're out and about and down that way, come out and say hello.
All right, we'll do. Well, Kyle, thanks so much for spending some time with us. Best of luck on the charity ride this year, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.